Philip, first question to you from my side. Especially, I think last week there was the announcement with Sender and Uber. How would you think about the development especially in the e-carrier space? Do you think that there will be more names in 3 years in that box, or do you expect more a consolidation there in the future?
I mean, I think the short answer is probably both, Thomas, because you've spent the last few minutes giving a very interesting and clear definition to a number of different areas within the logistics market. And there is no easy definition that fits all of these companies. We all like to box them up because it's easy to label them in a particular way, and that's understandable. But I think if you take the Uber deal, for example, with Sander, that is more about creating simplicity and creating focus. I don't think the strategy behind it was we're going to create this e-carrier this way. That was probably less the point. It was possibly to do with other parent company problems or indeed opportunities. So I think focus matters. I think you're going to see an ongoing shuffling of the pieces. I think pure assets and innovations and intellectual property will continue to shift around the chessboard for some time to come. And let's be honest, if e-carriers are going to succeed, like every other piece, it's all going to be about value creation. The problem for us is that definition of value is different for different people. And the logistics sector has always been susceptible to the lack of commercialization. Now, we're in a unique sector in a way because we're highly fragmented. Yes, there are some big players out there who've got several thousand trucks, but as you know, there are many, many more with, a handful, if that. And the second thing is that as a sector, we have lagged in terms of innovation and commercialization. So if you take an example, the financial services sector, they don't still use checks. Well, they do in a very, very small way, but we're almost a cashless society. You don't go and see your bank manager, and yet we are still dealing with umpteen bits of paperwork. Interestingly, during COVID, we had countries like India who temporarily dropped that. Well, let's hope the digitalization catches up on some of this. So there's limited use of data, there's limited understanding of data, and it's not properly shared. So why? Well, mechanics of the logistics industry suffer from twin pressures. Cost pressures. Historically, we have a very low margin, and multi-stakeholder constraints. Will that change? Well, I think it could change, because I think COVID has led to a change in mindset, both from practitioners, but also from other stakeholders. So logistics, and this is key for e-carriers, logistics may now be defined by its value rather than its cost. And that is the real difference here. Are we creating a value-based market? And I don't just mean around ETA or price or whatever. I mean the overall visibility, the resilience and the flexibility that we can bring. So yes, you're going to go on. We're going to go on with our lack of certainty. We're going to go on with hiccups in the market. But I don't think you're going to end up with a choice between a sort of Betamax VHS example. I think you'll end up with much more than that, at least for the next few years. And the other thing we need to bear in mind as a sector is the other major stakeholders, because they are really significant. So just obvious examples, you've got the truck OEMs. You're still going to be buying trucks. And you've got the added pressure that these trucks are becoming incredibly expensive, more so. So who's going to manage them? Who's going to own them? How are they going to be shared? You've got the shipper community. It's the shipper community that controls the volumes. Or is it a regional player that controls the volumes? You've got the regulators. 3 major regulators around the world, really, if you take it as regional groups, they're all critical. And you've also got the financial community, which plays into all of this, because the financial community has its own incentives. And I mean incentives in terms of who they invest with, but also how they incentivize management teams. So I don't have a simple answer, Thomas, but we are going to have new players. We're going to have multiple players. We're going to have communities building. And then I think you're going to have a major shakeout. Who the winners are after that, We will see.
We will see. And at the end, it's as you said, it's about value creation. So it's not. Of course, we try, as you said, it's easy to have them kind of boxes because it's then easier to discuss. But at the end, I think if I try to make a summary, it's really about creating value, and then it doesn't matter in which box you are. It's you need to digitalize and you need to create value. Is that right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And the first bit of what you said there, which box you're in, is going to be important because there will be a number of, some people describe it as ecosystems, but there will be a number of partnerships or ecosystems or structures that will come out dominant. Mm-hmm. And those partnerships will be critical. And they will be a mixture, I would imagine, of technology, physical assets, innovation in fuels, everything that comes with it, as well as regional dominance. So where we all fit into that is going to be very important, and where managements choose to align themselves really is going to matter. So the decisions that everyone makes over the next 2 or 3 years could dictate whether they are one of the winners or whether they're just part of the debris that's left behind.
So we definitely need to repeat that session in 3 years in order to see what happened, I would say.
Let's hope so.
James, I mean, we always discuss the companies and technologies and all that stuff, but I think we forget a lot of other things, which is really the economy around us. And COVID this year gave us a lesson on that, what can happen. But there is also another topic, and nobody's really talking about that at the moment, which is the Brexit. Is it still a topic? I would say yes. And what would you recommend to companies on how they can prepare, and how far are they with their preparation?
Okay. Well, clearly, Brexit talks are still happening. We have one more round of talks scheduled at the end of this month, and then we have a meeting of the European Council on the 15th and 16th of October. That really is the last point at which a deal can emerge as things are structured at the moment. Now, I think there is a high risk of no deal. I wouldn't say that no progress is being made. I think we have seen progress in the last couple of rounds of talks, but they're still deadlocked on the big issues. So things like fisheries, market regulation, state aid. I think there is still a high chance of no deal. So are businesses ready for that? Well, IGD has done some research on this on the food sector and has suggested a fairly low level of business readiness, and the UK government has also recently published a survey of Brexit readiness that came out yesterday, which suggests about 50% of big businesses in the UK are ready for exit with no trade deal, and around 20% of smaller businesses are ready for same thing. So I think there is a high chance of confusion or delay on the 1st of January. But what that is a possible opportunity for those people involved in the logistics industry who can add value to the process. So there is enormous interest now in terms of looking for advice on managing the new processes. So enormous demand now for what are called customs intermediaries, and anyone who can reorientate their business to become a customs intermediary or a customs advisor, I think is probably going to find a very ready audience out there.
And what do you expect at the 1st of January? Is it more that you expect traffic jam, or do you think that it is going quite well?
Well, a lot is going to depend upon the attitude that the various officials take. The officials, of course, are going to look to their political leaders, and they will take orders from them. So if a vehicle arrives at the border and it's not ready, obviously it'll be turned away. If it's fully ready, it'll get through. But I think there'll be a lot of businesses out there that have kind of ready. They've not quite got all of the paperwork, or that isn't quite all right. And I think that that's really going to be the critical question. Do you let a vehicle through that's nearly right or not? And that ultimately is a matter of official attitude and posture. The European side has taken a fairly hard line. And as far as we know, we think European officials will enforce all of the rules from day one. There'll be absolutely hard line. You're ready or you're not. The UK side, initially said that it would be fairly flexible, but now is moving towards a more hardline posture as well. And if we take the thing called the Border Operating Model, the BOM, which is the official kind of guidebook issued by the UK government, they're saying you've got to be ready. So they're saying no special privileges, no help, be ready.
So what I will definitely do, I mean, we created during the pandemic crisis in March, April, we created with Six altogether a European border map where you can see conjunction on the different borders, and I think that at least can help some of the people also on around the 1st of Jan maybe, in order to identify what's happening on the borders, in order to calculate maybe different ETAs and stuff like that when it comes to maybe some delays on that day.